Hey there, good morning, everybody. Oh, so in truth, I think I could have slept till next week. I really do. I think I could sleep till next week. I'm that energetically drained, you could say, because I don't think it's physical, I think it's energetics. And I think that my being is just kind of being thrown in all these different directions with so many different things going on that I'm just mentally, emotionally, physically, which is all energetics, drained. And yeah, and sometimes you just don't want to get out of bed, right? Your bed just feels too good. You just don't want to get out of bed, but then you're like, nope, I have to get out of bed. I have to get out of bed. And that was me today. I have clients to see, I have people to see, I have work to do, I have children I have adventures with, all this different stuff going on. So one must get out of bed and carry on. So today's topic, I was sitting here and I was staring at the moon that I can see up in the sky and the breeze blowing, and I was just thinking about different things because truly it was just like a silence that was coming through me, and it felt really good. Silence kind of felt really good, and then I almost fell asleep, but the silence almost, it was really, really nice. And with that silence behind it came this, I don't know, I guess you could call it a voice, kind of just this thought that came in. And when I look at different things that have been going on, the big thing that I have been noticing over the last quite a while, but very, very much in the last few days, is assumptions, which is hence the title of today's Conscious Coffee. Stop making an ass out of you and me, right? Which is what happens when we assume things. We make an ass out of ourselves and out of the other person because we're assuming that we know what's going on. We're assuming that we know what's going on with that person, what's going on in the world. We're assuming all these different things. And when we assume something, hey, good morning, Michael. Good morning, Addison. I saw somebody else pop up. I think it was Corey I think I got that name right. I saw a picture fly by. So good morning to everybody that I did not see come on here. But when we assume things, what we do, yes, see, I got the name right. I saw your picture go through. All right. Morning, Corey. Now, when we assume things, what we do is we really truly do make an ass out of ourselves, because it puts us into this position where it's like we know what is going on. And I will fully admit that I am 100% guilty of making assumptions over the last few weeks, last month for sure. I've been making tons of assumptions based on the things that are coming to me, based on different things that are happening in my world. And even though I make the assumptions, I do realize that they are assumptions and that I do not have any 100% accuracy to anything. With that said, the lesson is still the lesson, right? And that's why I'm sharing it, the lesson of assumptions. And it really is that when we start to assume things about a situation, about another person, it causes us to make different choices, take actions even, say things that may be completely out of line. And that's never, never good. So in my world, I'm going to just share a quick story. I'm not going to throw anybody underneath the bus, but I am going to share this quick story as to what happened and kind of where this is kind of stemming from for me. The other day I received a text message from an acquaintance, somebody that I know, but I would not count as a friend, literally somebody that I know, that I've known for the last 6 or 7 years. And I've never really even had like a sit-down one-on-one conversation with this person. I've only been around this person in group activities, and they were very PG group activities. We're talking about like a 4th of July party or a Thanksgiving party or something like that. Just a group of friends getting together, eating, watching football, that kind of thing. So very, very clean, very, very just normal activities, right? And since the breakup with my ex, lots of things have been going around. And it's interesting, when I was just talking to my 15-year-old daughter too, and she just broke up with her boyfriend, and she's got all these guys approaching her, and they're saying this and they're saying that, and and everybody's trying to get with her. And I have the exact same thing going on. I have all these people that are all of a sudden coming out of the woodwork and messaging me because they're like, oh, she's single. Her and her partner aren't together anymore. So all of a sudden, everybody's messaging me, and they're making all these assumptions. And among the assumptions is that I do things that I don't do, or that I'm easier than what I really am, which is really, really funny, which is exactly what this text message was about, was that I do things I don't do, and that I'm easier to get into bed than what I really am. And it's interesting because as this text thread is going back and forth through everything, that I'm realizing how goofy it is, and I'm making the statement over and over again. I'm not interested. I'm not interested. I'm not interested. Stop. I'm not interested. And this person just keeps coming back with, well, won't you come over to my house and sleep with me, basically? And that is the gist of it. Or won't you do this? Or won't you do that? And as that thread just continued, truly this person was making an ass out of himself. But he was also making an ass out of me. And I was contributing to the party because I just continued responding with my little responses of, I'm not interested, or da-da-da-da-da, and back and forth, right? So as we go back and forth on this, at the end of the day, the next morning, he texts me, and he's apologetic and says, are you mad? Going, yes, I am a little upset. I am upset about this because you've assumed all this different stuff, and you didn't listen to my boundaries. You did not listen to my hard no on, I'm not interested. No, thank you. Which is exactly what happens, right? We hear something, we think something, we jump to these conclusions, which are assumptions, and then we take action around the things that we think are going on. And when we take this action without any grounded support, evidence, you could say, towards it, all of a sudden we have all this stuff that now all of a sudden it's just like, guess what? I'm never going to be able to treat this person. I'm never going to want to really be around in a group situation with this person again because of all of this. I'm going to definitely keep distance there. He's probably going to feel like, hopefully he feels like this a little bit, like, oh my gosh, I totally overstepped. I didn't listen to her boundaries, all this different stuff. Good lesson for him. Hopefully he got it. But when we do that, it really does, it puts this energy in the relationship, no matter what the relationship is. Now, this relationship, chances of me actually ever running into this person, slim to none. We don't really run in the same circles. We don't live close together, nothing like that, and we were just acquaintances. So it's not that big of a deal. But assumptions happen in all relationships. They happen in the relationships with our children, the relationships with our partners, our spouses, with best friends, with parents, with colleagues, a lot of stuff at work. I hear a lot of stuff of assumptions going on when I'm working with people and they're telling me about their work life. They're assuming, well, this person is doing this and that's going on here and that's going on there. A lot of assumptions happen in our intimate relationships. We assume that a person is trying to do this or trying to do that, and we jump to the conclusions, and then we treat that other person as such, as though we know what they are thinking, what they are doing, what is going on, without ever communicating anything in truth about it. So we just have all this bullshit floating around in our heads, and we don't even inquire, which is why inquiry is so damn important. Because if we inquire, like the trick to inquiry, because much like my story here of this acquaintance coming and thinking that I was now desperate and going to run off and sleep with him, among other things. He did start the conversation with an inquiry question, with a couple inquiry questions. So he asked. The problem was he did not listen. He did not listen to the response. He did not believe my response because he was so sold, no matter what the reason is, he was sold on what he believed the answer was. So when I came back with the opposite answer, he didn't like that answer, so he just disregarded my answer, my truth, and kept pushing for the answer that he wanted. This is where you become an ass, by the way. When we push for what we believe it is, even though we're getting a different response. So if you're getting a different response, maybe pay attention to what that response is, that it's actually coming from the horse's mouth, you could say, and pay attention to that instead of just pushing forward, trying to get what you think is truth, because chances are it's not. And I look at that situation, and it really is, it's one of those that if it was happening in a different relationship, it would for sure cause massive issues. And from many different relationships that I've had, and even when things going on with my children, I do make assumptions. They make assumptions, and then all of a sudden, what do we end up in? We end up in an argument that is based on assumptions, not on truth. So then we're arguing all this stuff, and none of it is reality at all. It's all taken place and started in somebody's head, and then the other person has to go on the defense, and basically this, spat starts going back and forth, and one person's trying to get their point in while the other person's going, no, this is what you think, no, this is what you feel, no, this is what you did. And is that true? That should probably be a question that we all ask ourselves when we have these assumptions come into our heads. Is that true? What is the evidence? How do I know? And I know that a lot of the times in those situations we go, oh, absolutely it's true. I know it's true. And that's our ego. Our ego is there and trying to convince us that we know what is happening or what a person feels or is thinking or anything. And when we do that, when we approach the other person, and with that assumption, be careful, be cautious as to the tone that you use. Be cautious as to the words that you use. Your body language. What are you saying? Because when you approach somebody with an assumption and you're trying to you want to get the truth out of it, even though you have to realize that you might want to get the truth, but your ego has you believing one thing. So it's going to be hard for you to hear what that other person says. And if you approach the other person with this energy of, you're doing this, then they're going to get greeted with your energy, your voice, the tonality, your body language, your choice of words. All of that is going to speak louder than what you're actually saying. Okay, because it being one word that sets it off, it can actually, most likely, it's always the tone, I think, that really gets things, because you can use great words, and if your tone is in a blaming or in a this or in a that, or your body stance is going, like anytime you kind of like throw your shoulders back and you throw your hands out, you like cock your hips forward, that's kind of like, the stance of, it seems like it would be open, but it actually is more of this kind of like, I'm not, I'm not in the wrong. This is all you. I'm putting it to you. This is what you're doing. Be cautious as to how you are approaching body language and tonality for sure when you're trying to, if you legitimately want the truth on something, because when you're inquiring, all your inquiry is just going to kind of get washed away with those kinds of things. And the next thing you know, that person's read into what you're saying, and now you've got assumptions on both sides and lots of feelings going back and forth. And it all started because of some misguided thought, feeling, conversation, something like that one person had about the other. So, yes, for sure. This is how we make an ass out of ourselves and out of everybody else, is the issue of assumptions. But we all do it, right? Which is why I kind of brought it up, because I was sitting here and I was thinking about that. I'm just going, it's kind of frustrating, because the end result of that is that I think I'm writing a blog post today. I wrote something on my private Facebook. I have a very private Facebook where it's just my friends, very, very close friends and family. And because of this issue, I posted a little like update, important announcement, and just to clear some stuff out there. I hear rumors are going around, and let me clear up some stuff. And I think I'm going to actually this morning take that post and write it as a blog post and share it on my website and share it here on my more open, big Facebook page where I talk to everybody, where I'm actually at. I'm hardly ever over on my other Facebook page. But just to clear all of that up, because assumptions can be so damaging. I have had so many run-ins. I was thinking about in the past. There was this one time in band camp. No, not really. I never went to band camp. Don't play any musical instruments. So, no band camp. There was this one time many years back when, and I'll just tell you how damaging assumptions can be. This recent story, not that damaging. I'm not that worried about it. It just makes it fresh on my mind. But years ago, when I was married for many years, towards the breakup of my marriage after 20 years almost, I was working all the time, and we had opened up the relationship, and my now ex-husband was very upset about that fact. Of course, he wanted to remain married, and he wanted this and he wanted that, but I was like, no, we're going to be roommates. Anyways, he would drink a lot, and he would talk to our neighbors, and the kids would be running around the neighborhood and all this different stuff, and I was out working, and then it started coming to me that at one point I ended up talking to one of my neighborhood friends, and she says to me, "You know what you did." And I'll never forget that day, because she literally, harshly, in a scorning mother way, looks at me and says, "Well, you know what you did." And I looked at her, I was like, no, I don't. I don't know what I did. And she's like, "Yes, you do. Don't even lie about it." And I'm going, I really don't know. Like, set me straight, please. Tell me what I did, because you're saying that I did something, and I don't know what I did. I'm going like, I couldn't come up with anything. Well, she just refused. She would not tell me what I did. And then a couple other friends within that group basically said the same thing to me. And I spent a good 90 days completely lost, completely bewildered as to what the hell everybody was talking about. They had cast me out of their friend circle. They wouldn't allow my kids to, they weren't letting the kids play at their house. I was like, this has to be some big shit that I did, and I don't know what I did. My goodness. It was massive. Everybody just kind of shut me and my children out, and I could not figure out what was going on. And it went on for a good solid 90 days, and even longer. I just happened to move after 90 days. After 90 days of that, I was like, I'm just done with this bullshit. So I ended up moving, and it took probably about 3 years later, I ended up getting a text message from one of my friend's husbands, and he was apologizing to me for taking his wife's side. And I'm like, what are you apologizing me for, and what are you talking about? And then he kind of let out of the bag that the rumor was that I was running around sleeping with all of my friends' husbands. I thought that was hilarious, because I wasn't interested in any of their husbands, and that was basically stupid. It's like, you don't sleep with people at work, and you don't sleep with people in your own backyard, and you certainly don't sleep with your friends' husbands for sure. That's just not, it's going to end up bad. It will end up bad. That should be common sense. FYI, if you're doing that, stop it, because it's probably not going to end up good. Those scenarios never end up good. So somewhere along the line, somebody made the comment, I guess, that I was sleeping with their husband, or one of the husbands said that I had slept with them, or whatever had happened. It was this humongous thing that completely blew up my whole friendship of probably 15 friends. All went against me because they believed that I had slept with somebody. But the funny thing is nobody could probably figure out whose husband I had slept with, because I hadn't slept with anybody's husband. And then 2-3 years later, people started apologizing to me about making that they believed this rumor and everything. And I found out later that somebody had said something, and it literally just boom, 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 and all of a sudden, yes, I was sleeping with everybody's husband, and it was just nasty, nasty, nasty. So that is the assumption process there. You make something, a rumor gets started, one person believes it, a couple people believe it, whatever. Next thing you know, it's kind of like that telephone line that we used to play as a kid, right? You talk into the can, and then, or you tell somebody something in their ear, and you go around the circle, and by the time it gets back to you, it's a completely different story. And that's exactly the same thing that assumptions do, is we're talking into one person's one person's ear, and then it goes around, and by the time it gets back to us, it's like, holy shit, what the hell is that? That's not anything remotely close to what the truth is. So you have to remember that when you're making assumptions, we end up turning it around in our heads and concocting stories and adding our own this and our own that to it. And then when we share it, that goes to that person, and then they add their version to it, and it goes around and around and around and around and around. Before you know it, you have this beast of non-truth sitting there, and it can be very, very damaging to definitely the person that you have made the assumptions about, but it can be damaging to yourself as well, because when it all comes out, when the truth finally does prevail, because the truth does have a way of doing that, at the end of the day, when that happens, what you're going to find out is that you really look like an ass, a stupid ass, when you've made this assumption and run with it. So caution, caution, caution on that. You're not going to avoid making assumptions, by the way. You're human. We all do it. It is part of just living. But to be more conscientious about that, and to try to be that witness inside of you and realize, hey, I might be making an assumption, which is where the question of, is that true? Is that true? Is a very, very powerful question to ask anytime we are assuming something or believing something. Actually look for the evidence, actually get something that is more stable on the truth, instead of just going, oh, I just know that. I know that person did that. I know this is going on. I know that's going. Really, are you sure? Are you sure? Is that true? So make sure that you pay attention, because otherwise you're going to blow your world up, blow somebody else's world up, make an ass definitely out of yourself, potentially out of the other people that get involved, and out of the other person as well. So take heed on that right there, and become even more the witness in your own head, which is listening and viewing the thoughts that you're thinking, the emotions that you're having around something, and really just try to stick to actual what is going on. Okay, so all right, well, with that, I think that I've had I'm going to call it a rant session this morning, but a rant session with a lesson, right? And I'm going to go write my assumptions article and get that out there and just clear some air on that too. So if you didn't understand, or you didn't get enough of that, or you want to share something that I just said in written word, well, guess what? I'll take care of that for you, because that's exactly what I'm going to be writing on this morning. Let me see, anything else? Finishing up the 10 days to stop fucking around, 10 days of alignment ass kickery. Did the last lesson last night for the live. We'll be doing a live hot seats in a couple days over the next week and a half, where we're going to be doing Q&A. It's a very, very powerful course, all about getting into alignment so that you can create that fuck yes life, which is exactly what I'm always preaching and teaching on, right? It's all about that consciousness, becoming that witness, getting in alignment and into alignment with exactly what we want. How do we manifest stuff like this? It's all about our alignment and the things that we need to do to have better alignment, and not flounder around so much, because when we wobble, we don't create nothing but shit for ourselves, and that's no fun. I mean unless you're having fun creating shit and drama and trauma and all that good stuff, go for it. That's what makes you happy, I guess. Yes, yeah. If it makes you happy, that's cool. But for me, I'm not too fond of that kind of stuff. I'd much rather create love and abundance and travel and wealth and good health and connection and joy into my life. So that's what I'm teaching on. That's what I'm aiming for. And if that interests you, if you would like to have that kind of a picture, check out the Stop Fucking Around 10 Days of Alignment Ass Kickery course. It is fully recorded. It has powerful exercises in there, lots of live training, and the Q&A that is coming up is going to be a total knockout ass kicking sessions coming up. So check it out, grab it today before it goes up in price too, because it is still at the introductory price, because it is in the middle of creation. So hope to see you over there. If you have any questions, of course, you can ask me about that course. Feel free to message me here on Facebook or any other means that you might have. And as always, stop existing and start living. And I will catch you tomorrow morning for another Conscious Coffee. Bye, guys.